Hang on, let me adjust the lighting. Maybe it makes the picture better. Yeah, it looks better now that the light is off. Okay, guys, I'm gonna do this video on philosophy. I want you guys to understand philosophy for more than one reason. Say if you want to talk to a psychologist, psychiatrist, I want you to understand what to say to them. You want to talk to an atheist, or you talk to anybody that want to question the Bible or anything. I want you to understand how to use this, because this tool is a very useful tool, and now I can kind of win every soul. It's by the grace of God the soul is saved, not by philosophy. But this is a tool if you want to go on an atheist hangout. If you do apologetics, you can go on there and try your best to get him stumbling over his words, and so you make a spectacle of him to all his followers. So maybe one sees how stupid the worldview is, and then they come to your channel. You have the gospel on there, you have the Bible history, and they come to Christ by God opening their eyes. And I'm also going to open the room later so anybody can ask any questions and ask, because this is a very good tool. First, let me talk about fallacies. You want to know fallacies, you know how to not commit them. You want to know fallacies because they're a good way to go out and win, dispel argumentation. And basically, when it comes to winning an argument, only time you really want to win an argument is when you're with a level 8 and you're on a Google Hangout, and that really won't get saved because they're so done the minus C or whatever the condition is. But you want to make them into a spectacle, or you want to deal with a heretic. And you want to make a spectacle of them, so somebody in the outside can see clearly. That's when you want to focus on winning the argument. So, we're talking about debating the question fallacy, because the evolution commits this fallacy. Evolutionary people that make the argumentation commit this fallacy. The fallacy, making the question is the fallacy in which read it. It's in which you. Let me go ahead. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna have Google Tape. The begging the question fallacy. Just now, I already know what it is. I'm just gonna have it tell you. The begging the question fallacy. I think I need to tell you. You can look at it if you want to. But
according to Wikipedia, begging the question is a logical fallacy that occurs.
Yeah, begging the question occurs basically when someone examines evidence and makes an assumption rather than really supporting the claim. For example, evolutionists will look at history and they will see, these supposed history. They will look at it and they say, oh, look, these people, these monkeys. I be careful not to make songs tape, but I need to have to hit it. But these people, these monkeys, seem to be all the time looking more like a man. Thus, they're evolving. They're begging the question. They're not really supporting it with solid evidence that can happen. They beg the question. The fallacy, according to silence, is mostly a historical fallacy dealing with historical documents. Like one would tell you, one writer didn't write one outside biblical source didn't write this specific thing about Jesus, so thus it didn't happen. That's an argument about my silence, but I use it on a more philosophical way as well. When someone says to you, well, I can't see God, thus he doesn't exist, or they're implying that the good everything doesn't exist. They're making an argument according to silence. Why? Because there's plenty of evidence that God exists, and these are one or few bases to dismiss the existence of God. So atheism a lot of times does use an argument by the basis of silence. That's a fallacy. Don't let any what other fallacy can I go can I touch on? The ad hom. If somebody in an argument will ever attack a person's credibility or now I could do this with theological things because we're dealing with spiritual things. We're talking about spiritual things and motive and more of a spiritual component. So I can use somebody's credibility or somebody's delusional state in which to credit them. You can do that with theological things because we're not doing natural things. We're doing the natural, knowing an atheist. You understand? If somebody has the credibility in a theological tone to be delusional, that really makes them. That really shows their credibility. But they're so really delusional and they're heretic. And you can connect the dots with them. But it's the difference. So we're talking about just normal natural philosophy. When somebody attacks you, when someone says, "Oh look, you're autistic," thus what you're saying doesn't matter. They committed an ad hom. Or when someone examines a document and says, "Oh, this document is by Christian writers," they committed a genetic fallacy. It doesn't matter if it's by Christian writers. It matters if the evidence leads you to a logical conclusion of truth. So basically, guys, what you want to get an atheist to say, we're going to atheism. You want them to say, you want to get them to say, I don't really know anything. Because then you can get them in a self-refutation state. You want to say to them, and if they play that game, they play that game like Scott plays that game with me. Well, I know, that's the point of argumentation with me. I know not your God. Just for an argumentation, I would say, how do you know even God exists? How do you know now my God? How do you know my God is just not an illusion that we all believe? But it's not really a God. It's just an illusion. How do you know the 10 fingers gods? How do you know you're not Matrix? So you have to go. Now I can answer that question when you ask me that, but you have to go to a far strength to get them to say, "Yeah, I really can't know anything." And then you tell them, "You know that," and then when they say, "Yeah, I know that," then you refute yourself. Because listen, your worldview, atheist, your worldview says I'm chemicals. I'm a biological product of chemicals and protoplasm. And according to philosophers and philosophy, chemicals do not produce truth. They do not produce an absolute truth. So you really can't know anything as an atheist. But if you claim you know something absolutely, you treat it as atheism. If you claim you know something absolutely, you even refute it as psychiatry. Because guess what? They say in psychiatry that chemicals produce thoughts. You get that? But the chemical that produces that thought cannot produce truth. That means that's not true. So, so you get them use arguments like, how do you know what you know and can you prove it? How? So, and when someone says, I don't believe in God, or I don't believe in anything, say, do you believe that? Or do you know that? you ask them with evolution. You don't go on the science. The philosophy is where it's at. How did you ask them? What is light, and how did it evolve? Or how did how did asexual evolve to procreation? Or how did the male organs evolve simultaneously? Or how did electricity evolve, and why? Or why and how did death evolve? And why are we not immortal? Of course they can't answer this shit. But basically the point of your argument with evolution is you want to prove to them that evolution is a philosophy. You want to be able to spit off answers. You go watch my discussion with that one atheist where I demonstrated I can answer a bunch of things. I can say, if we even examine the evolutionary history, we see monkeys looking like more of a man. I can make the argument that is just a variation. That there, over time, there was some breeding amongst different monkeys, and there was some chemical stuff going on, atmosphere stuff going on, that they created more and more like man variations, and it wasn't actually evolving. I can make that argument. See what we are doing. I can, because they were doing what they're doing. They're asserting it. They're asserting that is evidence of evolution. I assert that's evidence of a radical variation or variation. So it's an assertion. What you need to understand that evolution, if you go back to its pagan roots and so on, evolution is not a science, it's a philosophy. There's a difference. Evolution is an understanding of what we see. So really, when you're in evolution, you're in a philosophical discussion. And you really cannot exactly prove evolution. You cannot. Because any atheist watch this video, I throw any evidence at me, and let me show you. Hopefully, I can spit off another philosophical understanding on you, and see if you can refute it. Because you cannot. Because what you're doing is you're asserting by the evidence. For example, you're asserting that carbon dating proves an old Earth. But how do you know that carbon dating doesn't prove that things were created or evolved to seem old when actually they're young? How do you know that matter doesn't just mature rapidly in appearance of age, and you're saying that means that they was around for a long time? How do you know that, and can you prove it? So, hold on. What else can I say? I'm going to look at the chat room, see if anybody wants to join and ask me any questions. It's better to demonstrate you how to deal with an evolutionist, or how to deal with that's just an example. So someone tells you, well, we have justicial organs. How do you know they wouldn't just design that one? Someone tells you, well, what else do they say? We are descended back to a pine tree, we're all part of a core when it comes to DNA. How do you know that it wasn't just similar DNA, similar gene code designed by God to deceive people, to send people a delusion to make them think they evolved? How do you know that? How do you know that wasn't a delusional? How do you know that wasn't a delusional implant by God to do what He said and send you a delusion? similar gene pool doesn't prove we descended from them. It just proves we have a similar pattern to our creation. We have a similar gene. We have a similar DNA code. It doesn't prove we evolved. It doesn't prove that there are descendants, but it can be argued that we've been designed that certain way to go down that certain way. I'm going to look at the chat room. I'm going to put the link below. If anybody wants to join and ask me any questions, they can. This is just, when you understand, I'm giving you examples. I'm giving you ways to address things. Because evolution is a philosophical argument. It's not a scientific argument. That you cannot, because I can go with an evolutionary worldview, they are just chemicals. They are stardust, like Neil deGrasse Tyson person. And when someone says matter cannot be created and destroyed, because matter was not created. That has been objected to. Well, let's entertain that. You are asserting that matter cannot be created and destroyed by what you're assuming to be always existing matter. How do you know the designer didn't create the matter to not be created or destroyed? So to send people a delusion to think eternal universe, or to or to demonstrate his glory and his intelligence in his creation. How do you know that? And just know, if you look it up, that argument has been rejected to those people that would say, we see matter destroyed all the time. And they would even be rejected to that. That's not even, with that, that's something like not even a part of the second law of thermodynamics. So, guys, stop making that argument. We see matter destroyed. Stop making that argument. If you're, that's not rejected to by science, and that is a philosophical. You're begging the question. You are asserting that wasn't designed that way. That only pre-existed. The belief for eternal universe wasn't exactly how do I say it? It wasn't exactly secular. It was Hindu. It's part of Hindu cosmology, the idea of eternal universe. And it's based on an assertion. Or assertions. The logical conclusion shows if you want to have truth, listen, if you want to be an atheist, do not claim anything to be true. And just by including the such thing as truth or knowledge, by just scientific observance or sociological observance of man, that would disprove natural evolution. Why? Because evolution, according to supposedly Stephen Hawking, I'm not sure why I say supposedly, everything was determined by evolutionary determinism. And philosophically, you cannot verify reality to be actuality until a physical construct. So we cannot verify truth in a determination mechanism in which you cannot verify anything. You don't know that we evolved. So people think it's just a game when you flog an atheist solipsism, the atheist can't really know anything. I can prove to you by more than one source that is true. You're using your feelings if you think you can know anything in an atheist. You're not using facts. I'm going to open the room up, and anybody can come in and ask me questions, or I can watch the comment section while you're in there. And if you examine faulty reasoning, like the what I call or even a fallacy, the categorical fallacy. Like one would say, well, many Christians do this, so many Christians do this. That's all Christianity does. This is Christianity. That's a categorical fallacy. That is not reasonable. Because just because a minority or majority does something doesn't prove they all do. You can't just label it. Okay, I'm going to the video. I've been talking doctrine comments before. But those that worship God in spirit, I'm not saying philosophy is basically understanding. So philosophy, understanding can be of the spirit, revealed by the spirit. But when you worship God in spirit, you worship God in righteousness and holiness. You worship God in truth. You worship God in love, and not simply in your mind. Philosophy talking about dealing with argumentation, not dealing with God. And the fact that philosophy is basically understanding, it's simply, in other words, for understanding, how I'm using it. No, understanding is in the book of Proverbs. It was biblical. No, talking doctrine, how about you join? Philosophy is understanding. And yes, I can answer God, I can give philosophies on God, understanding on God through philosophy. Yeah, like a Proverbs, God gives understanding. God gives wisdom and understanding. So you can't make it like, oh, I'm not saved or all this because I have philosophy. Talking doctrine, have you watched my videos? My video on the hypocrisy of easy believism? It'd be good talking doctrine if you actually be logical, because the Bible says God said come reason together. So I'm saying come reason with me talking doctrine. Now I made it pretty clear that I don't teach works salvation. I agree that worship salvation can turn into works salvation. So if you can't call me a works salvationist unless you can prove that that's what's in my heart. But Matthias, how about you join? Yeah, I do agree in grace alone too. But when I say that God changes a man's heart, in which He works in a man to will and to do, you would call that works, even though you're quoting you scripture. I do agree that salvation is by the power of God alone. That God changes a man's heart. God puts the fear of Him in there. God puts the love in Him in there. God works in him both to will and to do. That before man does a work acceptable for God, acceptable to God, God did a work in him to do it. So it's God that did it. That's just his finished product out into the outer world. But we're not talking doctrine. How about you join? Samuel, anybody can join if they want to. You gotta stop being honest with the text. Honest with the text. I quote you scripture. Okay. I quote you scripture, Matthias. So when will you be honest with the text? That if a work be of the flesh, if a work be of a man's will, and a work be of a man's pride, that's not acceptable to God. But if a work be of something that God formed in a man to do, or God's empowered a man to do, or God inspired him to do, and then he's submitting to the union of the Spirit, submit to God, resist the devil, that's acceptable to God. If it's something that God inspired him to do, that God calls him to do, and he submits to it in humility, yeah, God accepts that. And that's not a work of man. A work of the flesh is a work of your own strength, or your own pride, and your own inspiration. That's a work of the flesh. That's a work of man. We need to be honest with the scripture, with all these verses. We can't just cherry pick scriptures. Is salvation by grace alone? Of course. It's not by our own works. It's by God. But God forms works in which manifest in our outward life. And if God does not purify your heart by His power and clothe you in white without wrinkle or spot and make you into a look, Jesus coming back for a bride. So if He doesn't purify your heart by what it says in Matthew 5, by His power, you cannot go to heaven, and you will not go to heaven, and you do not consider yourself saved. God, if you are saved, God's going to purify your heart. Blessed are the pure in heart, they shall see God. Now we can't conclude, even I can't conclude, I can't reach on my heart and cleanse my motives and my mind and all this. I can't do that. We have to conclude what he's saying is, if God doesn't purify your heart, you're cursed and you're going to hell. So, you got it. So I ask you, Matthias, to be honest with me. In order to say I'm working my way to heaven, you have to prove that I trust my works in my heart. Because clearly my confession is the other way. I've seen the wickedness in you. I've seen what remains, and trust me, I can't. And when you feel the wickedness in you, when you feel, and so on, when you feel these things, you can't just reach inside your heart and cleanse your heart. So, why do you think I prayed the prayer? I prayed, oh Lord, accept my works. No, I said, Lord, save me, Lord, save me from my remaining sins. So don't think that's what I prayed to the Lord more than once. And actually, the day after I felt at least more strength against sin. So anyhow, guys, anybody that deals with atheists or evolutionists, do you want to ask me any question on how to answer what they do? I suggest that you to see better to be demonstrated is if you see me, you take notes. You take notes. You watch a discussion with me and an atheist, and you take notes on what I say. Okay, and then you will have God put it. God can put it in your mind so you remember what to say. I pray that you get wisdom and understanding that I think God gives you a mind that you can hear an argument and remember it. The grace of God purifies a man. The grace of God doesn't leave a man in sin. So yeah, that's I basically give you stuff. If I think of anything else can help you with, you simply ask an atheist. How do you know you're not in the Matrix? How do you know you're not in that long coma? You got kicked in the back of the head when you were a kid, and you've been a long vivid coma since. How do you know that? You get him to say, I don't really know anything, and get him to realize that that's what atheism demands. And then once he refutes his own worldview, then if you feel he's accepted of the gospel, and feel he's not like a reprobate, then you give him the gospel. You don't cast. We need to learn this. I need to learn this myself. Then you give him the gospel. We don't. I need to learn this myself. We need to learn not to cast pearls before swine. You don't give everybody the gospel. Some people are reprobate. Some people hate God, and God's not working in their heart at that moment. So that's when you just destroy them in a way that you can make an open example of them to the rest of the followers, and that one of them gets saved. That's the whole goal. Somebody gets edified, and somebody gets saved. That's the whole goal of everything. Make sure we're in the spirit and not the flesh. The whole goal is fruit for the kingdom, or fruit for those who are in the kingdom. So, guys, if you want to join, I'll put the link again. If you want to join, you can join, ask me questions. But if not, I think, unless I have anything else to say, I'm going to end this thing. Get any questions, guys, or you want to join, you can comment below. I basically, if you want to do a recap, I covered. I said some stuff already about philosophy. I did atheists. And you could just, you know, you can use the evolution of determinism, you can use the chemicals, and chemicals cannot be the truth, but they don't know anything. And when they claim, well, I can know something, no, scientifically, you're just a biological product. Biology cannot produce truth, thus, anything you say to me is not true. And since naturalist evolution is inside that worldview, evolution is not true, and thus cannot, and even if it was true, we couldn't know if it's true. So you can throw the whole proven evolution outside the window. Because if naturalist evolution is true, we can't know if it's true. So there's no such thing as proven evolution. It cannot be proven. And better for stopping suicidal patients if your worldview is true. Because if your worldview is true, then nothing but chemicals. So let evolution do its thing. Maybe they're evolving into another state when they kill themselves. And if your worldview is true, if you're an atheist, bestiality isn't wrong. The justification used to justify homosexuality is to say, well, they're born that way. That's how they feel. Well, a pedophile can say, I was this way since I was a young boy. That's just how I feel. I always liked I liked younger women. I knew I'd be with little girls when I was older. Thus, it's okay, right? Same with bestiality. A person that can say, I felt this way since I was young. Thus, I was born this way. Thus, it's alright. That's the same justification, people. You can use the same one they use for homosexuality. You can justify it. So, the justification for homosexuality is not based on fact or philosophy or logic, like real, fervent, critical logic. It's based on emotion. And that emotion can justify a lot of wickedness. Okay, anybody wants to join? Or anyone wants to ask me a question about what to say to an atheist or how to answer an objection to Christianity? Okay, guys, I guess. I think of more things to cover, more things to go into. Then I can do a part 2 to this. I suggest if you are interested in apologetics, if you're interested, then you just watch my discussions. And I have another upcoming discussion with part 2 with Seth. So, and I'm pray, guys. I want you to pray, guys. I have asked on Law to talk, to have a discussion. So I want you to, he said, of course, when I first asked him, but I want you to pray that he actually goes through with it, that this discussion with all in all actually happens, and pray that God puts him in derision or something. Pray that he basically gets destroyed, that he can't fool people out of what I'm going to say to him by his authority that he speaks with, but that he gets destroyed, and that atheist would watch the thing and get seeds planted and get saved. So, guys, I want you to pray for that. I love you guys. Be blessed in the name of Jesus Christ. Bye. Any questions before I go?